You want the government to collapse, eh? Be careful what you wish for, my friends. Be careful what you wish for. Now look, I don't like the government. I don't like the bureaucracy. I don't like the idea that people with no skill set at all, Joe Biden, many Republicans, they're just political animals, ambitious political animals who've never done a damn thing in their lives. And somehow they make it to the authority to control our lives. At least Fauci is a doctor. He's a bureaucrat, but at least he has some credentials. I challenge any credentials anymore, but be that as it may. I don't like the idea of these guys that are, I was watching, Charlotte and I were watching Jeopardy the other day. There's some chick on there, a younger girl, lady from Indiana. She's studying for some kind of, I think it was public administration degree with a minor in international relationships and a minor in something else stupid, political science or something like that. And the lady who was doing, the chick version of Alex Trebek, Blossom, that Blossom lady. She's like, well, what do you want to do? And this chick's like, I want to be in government work. And I said, that's great. That's what we need. We need people who've never done anything in their damn life, who've been massaged by their parents since day one, who feel the world revolves around them, in terms of talk about the helio versus geocentric model of the world. They are that. The world revolves around me. You know what I'm saying? Never been told no. And she wants to go into government work so she can dictate to people like you and I who are productive how we should live our lives. Sad, man. I hate that. Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. Lots of that nepotism in private business, too. Don't get me, it's all over. But before you start saying we want the government to fall, I suggest you think again. So I'm listening to an audiobook about Mao. And it's interesting, too, because Mao was he's just like, dude, he didn't like labor. He didn't like hard work. He was a lazy guy who felt the world revolved around him, and he wanted to basically be lazy, to drink good wine and eat good food, and that was it. But he's ambitious in terms of he didn't want to work hard. And just like all politicians, all ambitious guys, he's able to sneak his way in to more and more authority. Now, he had a couple of times looked like he might get put down. This is on the rise of Mao, before the CPC became prominent. The Nationalist Party was still much bigger than the Communist Party of China. All right, so Mao was going back and forth between the Nationalists, the Communists, Nationalists, Communists. Well, what happened was in the Hunan province, basically warlords were running it. The Nationalist Party was on the march to take over. They were going to attack some town. I forgot what it was. And the Nationalists that turned around is running Taiwan right now. I think it's the Nationalists. I mean, it was. I don't know if that's still the party in charge. I don't know. But anyway, so what happened was all anarchy. So Mao he was able to somehow get in command of a small, let's say battalion size, 500 people or so of armed soldiers. And they just thought he was in charge. I mean, they didn't even know he was in charge, but it was very interesting how he connived his way. And they went to the bandit area. And the bandit area, I was thinking, how do these guys get fed? How did Castro get fed in the mountains of Cuba? How does these revolutionaries, even American revolutionaries, how do they get fed? They make raids on innocent people. They make raids. They beat you up, rape your wife, maybe slice your freaking throat. Because they're not growing anything. They're not productive. They're there to destroy, to take over. It's a world war. And so if you're in their way, they're taking over your home. And because they have the numbers and you don't. I mean, I tell you, man, all these guys said, I want the government to fall. I want anarchy. I listen to my man Jack Spirko. I'm an anarchist in some regard. But the idea that people are just going to be self-dealing and the hidden hand, as Adam Smith would say, is true. But people also, there are a lot of people out there who want power for power's sake. They want to tell you how to live. And you don't have a vote in the matter. So you're sitting around, you got your wife, 5 kids, you know, you're freaking planting crops, you know, you're doing what you got to be doing in the community, and all of a sudden Mao and his band of thugs come in, and you're like, I'm just trying to grow food. He goes, yeah, we know, we want that food. Right, but that's not for you. Slice, rape wife, rape daughters, take them off for, you know, sex slaves. This is ISIS 101, man. And I tell you, that happens more often than it does not happen. Because what happens is what we've witnessed in the last 2 years, a hell of a lot more people are willing to sacrifice their freedom for short-term feeling of comfort in terms of, I don't want to be odd man in. I will sacrifice my freedom because I don't want anyone to look at me like I'm the bad guy. I tell you, man, you don't even have to be the thug of Mao. You just got to say, I'll capitulate because I don't want that guy coming after me. So I'll tell on my neighbor so they go after him. They were doing this in NHS in England, my friends. If you did not stand at the appropriate time, it's straight out of freaking George Orwell or Saddam Hussein. Remember that? So Saddam Hussein and other communist leaders too. Saddam wasn't a communist. All right, same freaking thing. He'd give a speech, and the first person to sit down and stop clapping would get executed. So no one would sit down and stop clapping because I don't want to be that guy. And you're sitting there thinking, there's 1,000 of you in the conference hall. You could easily bum rush it on and take him out, but they couldn't. It's crazy. They wouldn't do it. I don't know if you ever get a chance. Nikolai Susku, I can never pronounce his name. Kusku, I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. Sescu, I think is how you pronounce his name. Bulgaria, Budapest, something like that. So he's giving a speech one day, he and his wife. And the crowd, for some reason, at this point, you know, he was a freaking tyrant. And the crowd, for some reason, just was ignoring him. He's like, hey, he's talking to Mike. You can watch on YouTube, actually. It's actually freaking fascinating. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And they're just like, whatever. He's like, dude, when I talk, people listen. What the hell's going on? His wife gets up there and says, silent. And they're like, whatever, sister. Nikolai tells his wife to shut up, they start speaking. And literally, not sure how long after that, but not long after that, he gets publicly executed. Crazy. So something happened in there to make people stand up, just like the Czech Revolution. Same kind of thing. But I don't know what it is. It's just something, like, I don't know if the moon changes. I don't know. Something happens in the air where people change. But up to that point, people just, I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not going to be the first guy. I'm not going to be the first guy sitting down so that Saddam can identify me and execute me. And this is the way thugs work, man. Thug mentality is always like this in communism. It doesn't matter. The cream, the most violent, rises to the top. In any gang warfare, the most violent rises to the top. It's just that simple. Now in America, because we live under a corporatist state, the most ambitious, the most cunning, conniving, who are willing to sell out souls for rock and roll will rise to the top too, like Joe Biden. I was going this way. Okay, I'm for Black Lives Matter. 25 years ago, I was going that way. I'm for the Clinton crime bill. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. He's very racist back in the 1970s because he doesn't have a soul. I mean, he just, he's a Civ, Cypher, something like that. Where are the people going? I'll go there. He's not a leader. He's a follower. If people change their points of view, I'll change with it and pretend what happened didn't happen. And people, for some reason, allow that. It's crazy. But anyway, so at the end of the day, what happens is, but he's not killing people. He's not going out there robbing your family and putting you freaking up against the wall as a la Che Guevara. He's not doing that. I mean, he's a clown. Can't stand him. He's a nut. Not just, I'm talking about the government, the bureaucrats as a whole. And this applies to George W. Bush too. They're insane. They don't mind seeing you in jail, but there's still something that holds them back from outright pandering execution style, where you say, oh, Josh, you didn't wear your mask. Execution. But when it comes to the Maoists, the Che Guevaras, and don't forget, the United States did the same thing in our Revolutionary War. We're taking over homes and homesteads. And if you're a Tory, you got your butt kicked, if not slaughtered. You got your land taken. And the same, like if you supported the U.S., the Tories would have done the same thing. Or the Tory supporters, if they would have won. No different than Reconstruction. You had some land, you're white, it didn't matter. Did not matter. You're getting that taken away from you. I tell you, man. So you better be careful wanting the government to collapse. You know, anarchy is not good. Well, just people will do their best they can to help each other. Hell, man. Where is an example of that? There's no examples of that. Maybe in a minor scale. I mean, that's great. The reason we don't know much about it because it's so minor. There's example after example after example of strawmen, of tyrants, of thugs, of warlords. There's nothing, not even close to the same scale, of anarchy working to serve the better of all humanity. This doesn't exist. There's no area a la Atlas Shrugged that you can leave and go to Colorado covered by clouds so no one can see you from above and say, hey, we're just going to be here by ourselves and support each other. It doesn't exist. I mean, I'm sure there's some small areas like that. But people have this desire. It doesn't even mean a majority of people. All it takes is a few Maos. And Mao said, it's crazy. What he said was the violence he perpetrated, his first taste of blood, it was incredible, he said. Addictive. He loved it. He loved having people bow before him. And then he took the hammer of gods and cracked them. It doesn't take much. 90% of the population doesn't have to be like that. All it has to be is 10%. And their will reign supreme. Just going back to what Nassim Nicholas Taleb says about the reign of the minority. Not minority skin color per se, it's minority, that they have a hell of a lot more power than the majority does. And he gives example after example, and when you read it like that, that makes sense. All it takes is a band of 500 people, for whatever reason, pissed off, armed, without any essential authority that can come in there and take care of business. And by the way, eggshells are what we're on. I mean, think about it. We couldn't even beat Afghanistan. With all of our military superiority, we could not beat them. Now you could say, well, we could have if we nuked them. All right, well, that's great. So let's kill everybody. Just burn the village to save it, huh? Nah. And what that would have done? You think they would have been dead? Those people, sure. You think the established, way they saw things would be dead? The goat herders in Afghanistan? Oh, man. They just create more. People say, all right, you can't solve all your problems with violence. You got to have some kind of ability to compromise in a civilized society. If you think the government not being there will lead to a civilized society among anarchists, I don't know what to tell you. All right, love to your thoughts. We'll see you.